Welcome, all you true believers, to the latest episode of the True Believers podcast here on the Fandom Podcast Network. We got a very special show for you lined up because we're going to be talking about all the massive Marvel news that came out of San Diego Comic-Con, and there was plenty, including some very emotional moments, but there's so much. I can't do it by myself. There's just too much, and my brain would fry. I'd probably end up in a multiverse of madness or something like that. It wouldn't be pretty. So I brought in a little help. He is, of course, the co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network, my brother from another mother, Mr. Kevin Reitzel.
What is up, dude? Speaking of multiverse of madness, I'm watching Deadpool on Disney Plus right now. Isn't that weird?
Do you feel like you're violating something a little by watching Deadpool on a Disney product?
I'm just waiting for that parental committee to come knocking on my door. How dare you watch Deadpool on Disney Plus? What does that say? Said that's awesome, because that's what I pay the money for.
Exactly. It is an ever-changing landscape going on. The Marvel news has been great and busting out since San Diego Comic-Con, and Kevin Feige is talking all over the place. We're going to talk about all of that. But Kevin, I want to preference this a little bit because we have been having, not only here, but on several other podcasts we listen to, including, I'll give some love out to The Ringer with their Midnight Boys and a few other podcasts. And everybody's been kind of this same mindset of Phase 4. Where's it going? What's going on? I'm not feeling it as much as I have in the past. Well, Kevin, I got to ask you before we dive into all these San Diego Comic-Con announcements, after hearing all of this news, Did your Marvel energy go up a little bit? Because they dropped a lot of bombs.
Honestly, no. Because I'm overwhelmed by it, to be perfectly honest with you. And to me, it just kind of became honestly, and we'll discuss it. And that's why I'm excited about doing this episode, because it's going to help me kind of clarify what is said, because I felt... I kind of felt like it was, I'm going to be completely honest here, Kyle, because you were like dumping all this news and I wasn't prepared for it. But it was kind of like all of a sudden this Marvel vomit just came out. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but the way that it was just dumped on us. Like we went to a party, we're hanging out, Kyle, and I have a drink and you slip me a Marvel roofie and then I just like, that's kind of what it felt like, because I didn't ask for like the next 3 phases. I just want this one explained, the current one I'm in, and maybe one more, but we got more than one more. So that's why I'm glad you're here to help kind of explain that to me and the rest of us, because I know I'm not alone, because there's been a little bit of Marvel fatigue. We've touched on it, but I got to give them credit. They have a plan, and announcing a plan and saying, okay, and being fans, being able to speculate. Okay. At least maybe that'll be answered in that show or that movie. However, it doesn't really help this phase. This phase has just been weird. It hasn't given us the big bad that we've been used to getting. It's kind of stepping stones, and it's like that famous Marvel meme that we saw, like, Endgame was like the big boss, and now we're just doing the side quests, to ride it out. And if that is their plan to kind of flush out these new characters so that they can be introduced again in other people's movies, and in when are we supposed to get the next 2 Avenger films? When I'm like 72?
No, we'll both be in our 50. I won't be quite 50 yet, but yeah, we're looking at the end of 20.
I'll be in my mid-50s, right?
November of 2025.
Okay, so I'll be in my mid-50s. You'll be in your early 50s. I'm just trying to put things into perspective, but that is how I felt.
Okay, so let me address a couple of things, because after following this panel, because I was following it really close, because I was expecting some very major announcements. I wasn't even expecting the rush of information and announcements we got. But Kevin, after this panel was done, you know how I was feeling? I was feeling justified because
Explain.
Kevin Feige hit on so many things that I have brought up during this podcast about Phase 4, about what the future of the MCU is, and just how pieces are falling into place. And I feel like, okay, yeah, Kevin Feige. I mean, if you needed a new assistant, I'm down, because apparently we were on a similar thinking wavelength here. I give a lot of credit to Marvel and Kevin Feige for making the decision to actually stop Phase 4 after Wakanda Forever, because I think they realized that it's a good stopping point for Phase 4. People are kind of in this Phase 4 burnout a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think they were, I think too, with Phase 4, Kevin, as far as that goes, you're coming off such a high of Endgame. There's no way to top that. There's just, and so they realized we need to reset the deck. You're going to have a couple of very powerful films in Phase 4 that people will be talking about. One we'll talk about here in a little bit, but you had Spider-Man. And I give credit for this. Marvel tried some new things. They were trying to reset the board with some new characters for this next saga, which they revealed is the multiverse.
Swung and miss on a couple of things, in my opinion.
Well, but realistically, let's think about it and go back to the early phases of MCU. There's a few things they swung on and missed in that aspect too. We might go back and look at it fonder now, but at the time,
hold on. Yes, and they were able to do stuff in the Avenger films that made you now kind of want to go back and watch Thor: The Dark World. Okay,
yeah,
or as you call it, this what is it? What do you call it? This
the Marvel Redemption.
Tour?
No, the Mighty Marvel Redemption Tour.
Is that really going to happen with the Eternals?
I think
is that going to happen with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness? I see maybe more with that one, but Eternals,
I think it's going to. I'll explain why a little bit later.
Okay, real quick though, there was another convention right after Comic-Con that you were not aware of. There was the Kevin convention, and it was a great convention. All the Kevins got together, even the famous ones, and I got to mingle some of the famous ones. Bacon was great. He went up, played some music with his brother, even though he wasn't a Kevin. But Kevin Feige showed up, and I just want to say we had a real big step back, and he admitted to the whole Kevin Spacey thing. He really brought the Kevins down, but Kevin Feige was there, and we all hailed to him, saying, thank you for bringing the Kevins back up again. It was really cool. Just want to let you know. Went really well. Yeah.
I'm just going to say this, Kevin. When it's all said and done, I mean, you talk about Marvel having a plan. They've got committed to more theater time than a certain other franchise who can't even figure out when they're going to get their next movie out.
I saw fans making that comparison, like, why can't Star Wars do this and do it right? Yeah, I know.
I've got a whole other thing we'll talk about it on Culture Clash. I've realized I came to that, but I'm just saying I would like to see Star Wars give a little bit more commitment to their movies. But that's a whole other thing. So let's talk about it, because we've got a lot of things to discuss that came from San Diego Comic-Con. We're really not going to be having phases this week because we're going to be talking about phases enough in the show. But what we are going to be talking about is a little MCU news. It's time for Snit, Thwip, and kapow! Let's get to some MCU news. We might have a little bit of that this week. Just saying. So, San Diego Comic-Con officially kicked off, and Marvel's first panel was actually on Friday, where they talked about their animated projects, Kevin. And some very interesting things came out of this. First and foremost, coming August 10th, we're going to have a little fun because our buddy Groot is coming to Disney Plus, Kevin, with some animated shorts that just look fun. If you've watched the trailer for I Am Groot, you got little guys crawling all over you, eating your leaves, apparently.
I was looking in the camera so you could see my eyes roll.
Really? It's great.
Yes.
It's Groot. They're little shorts. They're not.
I'm over cute Groot. I'm sorry. He's matured now. I'm sorry. He's cut off his arm for Stormbreaker. That was the best thing he did. So
okay. Well, I'm just saying it's not. I think it's a fun little thing that they're putting out.
I'll watch it, but I'm not excited for it. I don't care.
Yeah. The next thing they announced was Spider-Man Freshman Year, which is actually going to go back to Peter Parker time early on as Spider-Man, learning to become a superhero. Yes, sir.
Series or one-shot movie?
Animated series.
How long?
They did not say, they have not given us an episode count yet, but they've already renewed it for season 2, which will be Spider-Man's sophomore year.
And this is this being voiced by Tom Holland?
I don't know if Tom Holland is doing the voice. They have not confirmed that yet, but we do know that Charlie Cox will be voicing Daredevil in this series.
So when does this take place in the MCU timeline?
It will be taking place probably a little bit shortly after the events of, or actually probably sometime around the time of the first of Homecoming, the first Spider-Man film. This is supposed to be canon, is what they're saying. So I'm going to be interested to see how this plays out. I'm curious about it, but it's not. I'm not sure what to make of it yet. I need to see more. But
so
what
hold on. Is this going to touch on a how he got bitten thing, or he's just like, I mean, okay, so this is freshman year. This means this takes place before his first Spider-Man movie, or no, wait, before Age of Ultron, then before Tony Stark comes and says, "Hey, I've been seeing you do your stuff here." You know, he's got the janky suit. You know,
I'm thinking it's probably a little bit of time right after Homecoming would be a little bit here. They're calling it freshman year because it's his first year of Spider-Man. So I think we're going to see some of the stuff he did before Tony Stark really hunted him down. But
okay,
I'm curious to see. That's the big question everybody has: is how is this going to fit in the timeline? But Kevin, what I am excited about is What If Season 2. They're bringing back a lot of some familiar faces, but we're getting some new things. We're going to have a Shang-Chi What If, and Simu Liu is going to come in voice Shang-Chi in this, and Elizabeth Olsen will be playing the Scarlet Witch within What If Season 2 as well. I know What If was a little bit up and down in season 1, but I think it ended on a pretty solid note. I'm curious to see what's going to happen. I know they're going to do another Agent Carter story. They've got a few other things lined up. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with What If. I think What If, for the most part, was a fairly pleasant surprise for season 1. So I'm looking forward to season 2.
I would love to see Thor go back to Vegas.
Yeah, more Vegas Thor. It will be another 10 episode run, including the episode that was supposed to be part of season 1 with Iron Man that we did not get to see.
I don't remember that. Why? Yeah.
I can't remember the exact issue why that wasn't in the original season 1 of What If, but it's going to be in this and What If is going to come out probably early winter 2023. Spinning out of What If season 1 too, Marvel is going to be doing an animated Marvel zombie show, which is, they have said, will be mature rated. And
okay.
And the Scarlet Witch will be one of the main focuses of this series.
I have no interest in watching that right now, just so you know.
No, I mean, I get it.
I'm done with the whole zombie thing. I don't get this one, but okay. I'm sure other people enjoyed it, but for me personally, I'm checking out of that right now.
Yeah. But I think of all the animated products, the one I think a lot of people are genuinely excited about is X-Men 97. Continuing from the classic Fox series, new episodes, some time has passed. There's some changes. Apparently, Magneto will be in charge of the X-Men now, which is actually pulled from the comic books around that time. They're adding a few other new characters as well. But yeah, X-Men 97 coming back.
So clarify this. When you say X-Men 97, did the series end in 97, or was there only one season? And how does that tie in with this?
It started in 97, so a lot of people consider that.
And how many episodes did it run? Seasons or whatever?
It ran, I believe, 3 seasons. The episode counts on the first 2 seasons were like 13 episodes, and it had a big jump in the 3rd season, like 21 episodes.
Okay.
So,
because apparently you were a big fan, and when it comes to X-Men fans, it was a big deal. So they are continuing those stories. Then is what you're saying?
Yeah, they're basically picking up the stories where they ended things off on the original Fox X-Men run. And Kevin, you have to understand, for a lot of people, the Fox X-Men run is very classic, but it's also very frustrating because it actually debuted in 97 and then almost went a year before we got any more new episodes. They had like the first 3-part storyline over like on Thanksgiving weekend, and then we didn't see it for forever. And then when it came out, it was never in a set time because at that point, Saturday morning cartoons were just bouncing all over the place. It was hard to watch the whole run on TV. You probably watched it.
Is this on Disney Plus now?
It is on Disney Plus now. You can go watch it on
Okay.
Disney Plus. It's under the Marvel Classic Animation.
So
section.
the last thing you have here on this news is that also the post panel, some exciting news. The original X-Men, the animated series on Disney Plus, was adjusted to reflect the original story order. So what does that mean exactly? What happened at the end of the original X-Men 97?
Basically, it's more than anything, Kevin. Think like Clone Wars, where they've kind of rearranged some of the Clone Wars episodes to fit more in a chronological timeline.
Okay, so stuff was out of order, and that when you watch it now, it'll be kind of put more in an order that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that kind of wraps up the animation, Kevin. But we got a lot to talk about because Saturday, Kevin Feige took the stage for a very powerful, with a lot of things, and also a very emotional panel for the MCU. He kicked things off pretty big by saying Wakanda Forever is going to be the end of Phase 4, Kevin. Kind of shocking everybody because the last we had heard was the end of Phase 4 was going to be the debut of Fantastic Four, and that was going to be a while from now. So Marvel's definitely played a little bit of a shift around in their phases.
Okay.
A little phase shift.
You need to clarify here for the listeners and watchers here. So Phase 4 is going to end with next She-Hulk, August 17th, coming up in a few weeks. Mm-hmm. And then end with November 11th premiere of Wakanda Forever in the theaters. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that they probably cut Phase 4 short because of how things have been going.
I think that's part of it, and I give Marvel credit for recognizing
because
that.
Ant-Man and the Wasp was supposed to be part of Phase 4.
Well, a lot of things are supposed to be part of Phase 4, and they're not. But I also think the other big announcement, one of the big announcements they also made was that these next phases will be all their next big saga, like we had just got done with the Infinity Saga with phases 1 through 3. The next saga is the Multiverse Saga, and I think what they realized is I really do feel like they think Ant-Man and the Wasp is really going to up the level of getting into that saga. Like Phase 4 kind of cleared some decks, added some new faces, set up a few things, but I think it's really going to kick off with Ant-Man and the Wasp February 17th, starting Phase 5. And there's been a lot of talk since San Diego Comic-Con coming from Marvel Studios that expect Ant-Man and the Wasp to be a huge team-up movie. So you might be seeing a lot more familiar faces in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania than what we've been told so far. So
I think there was a meeting in a boardroom going, guys, what are we doing on Phase 4? Let's kind of shift some things around here. And I think that was done on purpose because of how Phase 4 was going and how Phase 4 is being received by fans, the mixed reviews. And
I think there's several things to that, and I can go a bunch of detail. I think adding the Disney Plus and having that be part of Phase 4, which is something new, it's not just movies, a lot of different things. But I give credit for Marvel this. They tried some new things, whether they worked or not, that's up to every person's ideal thing. But I give them credit for recognizing, hey, something's not quite right here. Let's make some adjustments. And they've done so in a very good way. But, Kevin, I want to talk about the two shows real quick that are going to be ending Phase 4. First and foremost, we have just in a few short weeks, She-Hulk is going to premiere on Disney+. We got a brand new trailer that looked absolutely fantastic. The CGI has been incredibly improved, and this looks so much fun. I am really excited for She-Hulk, Kevin.
Me too. The new trailer really kind of drew me in and got me excited for it.
It looks so much fun. But then too, and I know this was Marvel actually did this part of it more towards the end of the panel, but I'm going to put it here because we're talking about the end of Phase 4. It was incredibly emotional. If you've seen some of the footage that has been put onto YouTube, such as Ryan Coogler speaking or some of the interviews with the cast afterwards, and you just hear the emotion in their voice, Kevin, Wakanda Forever. And everybody I have talked to, and you, when I sent you the link for the trailer, your response to me is like, that's how you make a movie trailer.
Yep.
Kevin, I was getting goosebumps and I was emotional watching that trailer.
I had a friend on Facebook, and I've seen this before. it looks like, however they're writing into it, they're writing into the death. They're writing in the death of T'Challa, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's a part of me that kind of was wondering, what my friend said on social media is like, why couldn't they just recast him? And I know it's really emotional.
I apologize about that, listeners. The phone hits and I can't control it sometimes.
I know it's too late, but I'm just like, I know that the mantle is going to be handed over to Shuri. I guess that's what
that's the speculation, but nothing's been confirmed.
But anyway, I know that they had to make a decision, and at the time it was just too weird and too soon, and so they decided to, you know what, let's just let's call this what it is, and let's move the mantle over to someone else. I just, I guess I just thought that they could have found a way to do it, but I guess out of respect, they just couldn't do it. Anyway.
I think what it is that I think they have so much respect for Chadwick, and I think there's still some ways they could do it later on to bring T'Challa back. I mean, we are talking about comic books. People come back from the dead all of the time. I think right now, too, Kevin, and just listening to a lot of the interviews from the cast and even with Ryan Coogler, this film was a healing process for a lot of the cast that was on the first film.
That makes sense. Yeah, it does. I don't want to spend too much time on that speculation, but the trailer, like you said, it got me. I'm like, that's how you do a trailer. I'm excited for it, and I'm excited to see how this is going to end the phase 4 going into phase 5.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of big things in this trailer that are MCU affecting, Kevin. Obviously, everything that's going on with Wakanda, but we also seen in this trailer our first look at Namor, the Submariner, and the undersea. From everything I've read, they're not going to call it Atlantis. They're tying it into more of a South American.
I couldn't really tell who he or what he was, just so you know.
Yeah,
they did a good job of blocking some stuff out. I'm like, okay.
Well,
that's my only pet peeve with it.
Yeah, they're not going, but we see Namor. And in fact, you see that birthing scene, and if you go back and watch that, Kevin, you realize it is Namor because you see the wings on his ankles.
I'm going to take your opinion on that, but I have no idea who Namor is. I've heard of him in the ether, but like I said, I'm not the comic guy, so I have no history on him whatsoever. Yeah. I am curious to see how he's going to be represented in the MCU. Yeah, is he a villain?
No, he can. He's kind of one of those. He can be a villain. He can be a good guy. Shades of gray.
So he's going to come in as a villain, and then he's going to become a good guy.
Not necessarily. They can write him a lot of different ways.
What's your gut feeling?
My gut feeling is that he's going to just be kind of in the shades of gray. He's going to do things to take on Wakanda. He's probably going to do some things to help him at some point. But at the end of the day, he still might not be an ally.
Is he the Marvel's version of the water dude?
He's kind of their version of Aquaman. Yes.
Okay. All right.
But gotcha. He's a little bit more temperamental. Let's put it that way. But
okay.
The other big reveal in this too, Kevin, was we get our first look at Riri Williams, who's going to be Ironheart in the MCU, and we know Ironheart is getting her own series on Disney Plus later. This is a character in the comics, Kevin, you probably aren't familiar with, but she becomes in the comics. She's kind of Tony Stark's protege.
I've heard you've mentioned this character before. Yes. Okay.
So I'm going to be curious to see how this works, but apparently from what they've said in interviews afterwards is that she is the first person to build a suit of armor that's more advanced than the Iron Man suit.
Is there a possibility of an Iron Man Robert Downey Jr. mention or appearance? And maybe in past or, whatever?
I think that's probably, if that's going to happen, you'll see it more in the Ironheart show. I think he'll get mentioned in the movie, but I think it's going to be more in the Ironheart show. But that is we're going to have Wakanda Forever, Kevin. And come on, I got to give Marvel credit for this too. I think this was a brilliant decision to do this. End phase 4 on an absolute high note, because I have complete faith that this movie is going to be something special. I have faith in the cast. I have faith in Ryan Coogler. I know Marvel kind of lets them do their thing and doesn't mess with them too much.
Well, hold on. Were you surprised that it was releasing November 11th? I didn't.
No,
I didn't expect Wakanda Forever to release this year. Did I miss that, or did I just get? Am I so bogged up on all the other stuff I just forgot about it? I don't know.
Well, it's been a little bit of an issue too, and I think that's the other thing. One of the other things with Phase 4, so much has shifted in Phase 4. Wakanda Forever was actually supposed to be out when Thor: Love and Thunder came out, and it got pushed back because everything got pushed back a slot because of COVID and things like that. So Wakanda Forever was supposed to be out of July 8th of this year.
Okay.
So it got pushed back to November 11th, and I think it's a good cutoff point for Phase 4. I think it's going to fit.
Phase 4 ends this November 11th, 2022.
So, which will begin Phase 5, which is going to kick off, as we've said, with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, where we know Jonathan Majors is going to be in that film.
Make sure you say the dates on this so people can can get a timeline going.
Yeah. So that'll be February 17th, 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a great way to kick off now that we know we are dealing with the multiverse saga, because Quantumania is going to deal a lot with the time travel aspects that were opened up in Avengers Endgame by Ant-Man and some of the ramifications of that.
Right.
And we know it's going to be our first time seeing Jonathan Majors back as Kang in Quantumania. And we are also going to see his Ant-Man's daughter step up and become the superhero that she becomes, called Stature, in this movie as well.
Stature.
Yeah, she will be using Pym particles more for growing than she will be for shrinking.
Okay. Stature. Okay, that's news to me. All right.
Yeah. I'll kind of give you a little bit of rundown from this, because they actually showed a bit of a trailer, but they didn't put it out completely to the public, but they showed it inside Comic-Con. Little notes here, though the studio didn't drop a trailer to the wider public at Saturday's Marvel panel, they did show the audience a trailer that teased some new details on the film. The third film in the Peyton Reed directed series will see Scott Lang, Paul Rudd team up once more with Hope Van Dyne, played by once again by Evangeline Lilly, Hank Pym, and fellow Quantum Realm survivor Janet Van Dyne. When Quantumania picks up, Scott Lang is coasting on saving the universe and plans to write a book. Look out for the little guy. Earlier this month, a leak suggested that the Ant family will be up against multiple villains in Quantumania. Deadline first reported in 2020 that the main foe would likely be Kang the Conqueror, played by Jonathan Majors, a fact confirmed by Majors himself during the Quantumania panel. As Majors puts it, there will be conquering, a formidable promise after his turn as the Kang variant, he who remains in Disney Plus's Loki. At San Diego Comic-Con 2022 presentation, Marvel called Kang very important to Phase 5. Make that what you will. Marvel also announced that Scott Lang will be facing off against another familiar face, MODOK, who was first rumored to be in the MCU in 2021. Marvel confirmed that tidbit as well as during its Hall H panel with a glimpse of him in the trailer. But the new additions aren't all bad guys that we know of. The movie is adding none other than Bill Murray. Scott will also have some more backup in the form of his daughter, Cassie Lang, played by Catherine Newton, who may be poised to help kick off the MCU's long-awaited foray into Young Avengers. So,
same actress that was in Avengers Endgame?
No, it's a new actress. She's a little bit older. Apparently,
there was the older one that he meets when he comes back from the blip. Is that the actress?
No, it's a different actress. That actress decided not to return to the role.
Oh, darn. I liked her. Oh.
So we have that. I think Ant-Man's going to have a lot to it. It's been Kevin Feige has said later in the week that he expects Ant-Man to be a major team-up film. And it's obviously, Kevin, I think Kang is going to be very important, as we will get to later on when we talk Phase 6, because I think there's a lot of stuff I'm going to have to fill you in on. But continuing in the spring of 2023, Secret Invasion, the Samuel L. Jackson show, dealing with alien invasions and maybe some not so friendly Skrulls causing some problems in the MCU.
When you say show, you mean Disney Plus series?
Yes, this will be a Disney Plus series. Again, spring of 2023. Marvel did show the first trailer to Secret Invasion at Comic-Con as well. Of course, that still hasn't hit out on there, but Samuel L. Jackson scratched up as Nick Fury comes out of a spaceship to meet Colby Smulders' Maria Hill at a bar, who has tried to contact Fury unsuccessfully in the past. She claims he has been avoiding Earth for years and asks why he chooses to come back now. He explains the situation warranted his attention. In the upcoming series, Fury returns to Earth to deal with a faction of shape-shifting Skrulls who have been infiltrating Earth for years. He has an intense conversation with Ben Mendelsohn's Talos, a Skrull he helped in Captain Marvel. You've got to be very careful, Fury, says the human version of Talos, who teams up with Fury to stop the Skrull invasion. Another shot, Fury is sitting down with Don Cheadle's James Rhodes, who is surrounded by men in black suits. Fury to James, how much do you know about your security detail? There is also a shot of the announced Olivia Colman, an authoritative figure to roll to Fury, almost like Bond's M, saying you're in.
Isn't she an Oscar winner?
Yeah, she is an Oscar winner, Olivia Colman.
Yes. Okay.
We will also be seeing Kingsley Ben Adir, Amelia Clark, Regé Jean Page.
Back up. Did you say Ben Kingsley?
No, Kingsley Ben Adir.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Amelia Clark of Game of Thrones fame, Regé Jean Page, and Christopher McDonald will also be starring in this series. And Martin Freeman will be reprising his role of Everett K. Ross from Black Panther in this series as well.
Question: Amelia Clark, what character is she playing?
We do not know yet.
Okay. All right. Looking forward to that. I'm excited about that one. That's spring of 23.
Yep. That will lead to May 5th of 2023, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This was another big cast and James Gunn there. Very emotional. Gunn confirmed that this is the last of this version of the Guardians of the Galaxy we'll see. This is his last Guardians film. He will be done with the franchise after this. The cast was incredibly emotional. They aired a trailer, which Gunn has gone on to say this trailer will be coming out soon, but he felt like he knew he had to put something out at San Diego Comic-Con, but he wants to get the special effects more up to speed before he puts the trailer out to the world. But
David Bautista said this is the last time he's going to be playing his character too.
Yeah, a couple of them have,
which makes you think, is he going to die?
Well, it's going to be interesting. But Guardians of the Galaxy 3 follows Star-Lord, still reeling from the loss of Gamora, who must rally his team to defend the universe along with protecting one of their own. A mission that, if not completed, could lead to the end of the Guardians as we know them. This part of the panel was reported to be highly emotional for all of the cast and for Gunn, as he confirmed it will be the end of the Guardians story. And the last time he had emotions like this was the first Guardians panel. Now, a couple other things that have come out since then. Gamora, as we know her, the Gamora that time traveled in Endgame, will actually be leading the Ravagers in this film.
Interesting.
Will Poulter, who is confirmed to be playing Adam Warlock, who is another cosmic being. This is going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. And if you look at him, dude got buff, Kevin.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the villain then, right? Because he was in the end of the Guardians 2 teaser.
Yeah, it was in that cocoon they showed.
Yeah, so is he the villain in this then?
No, the villain is actually going to be the High Evolutionary, which is going to be played, and you'll have to forgive me, I can't think of his name, but he was the kind of the team leader of the ops team in Peacemaker, the African-American gentleman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, just playing a different character.
Yeah, he's playing a character called the High Evolutionary.
Okay. So where does Adam Warlock play in this, you think? Speculate for me.
I think it's probably going to be one of those things where he's being manipulated, and then
so he's a villain at first,
and then maybe a hero later.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So after that, there was really no more trailers, but they just had a lot of announcements, Kevin. Summer of 2023 on Disney Plus, Echo comes. Now, we knew Echo was coming, the character spinning out of Hawkeye.
Mm-hmm.
But the big news about this is get ready to see some familiar faces in Echo, because Vincent D'Onofrio will return as the Kingpin, and Charlie Cox, who will also be in an episode of She-Hulk, will also be reprising his role as Daredevil in Echo.
And there's a reason for that.
Yeah. When we're going to get to that, there are a lot of rumors too. We might see a couple other people from the Netflix shows in Echo as well. So keep your eyes open.
What about the new Hawkeye? Haley Steinfeld.
Now, Kevin Feige has gone on to say that there is many plans for Haley Steinfeld, but we are not ready to talk about that at this time.
Okay. All right.
So then also in the summer of 2023, which is now filming, Loki season 2, and one of the big talks of this thing was when the Marvel panel opened, the first thing on the screen was Miss Minutes, Kevin.
Why is that a big deal?
because
I found Miss Minutes kind of annoying. So
she's going to be. I think it's just representing of how big some of the events of Loki are going to be going forward in this multiverse saga. Now filming July 28th in theaters will be The Marvels. Of course, we got a little bit of that quick preview of that at the end of Miss Marvel with Carol Danvers showing up in the stinger scene in the final episode of Miss Marvel. Of course, this will also have young Miss Marvel in it, as well as
Monica Rambeau
from WandaVision and a few other things that have come out. Then, Kevin, November 3rd, 2023, Blade will hit. I'm excited for Blade.
Mahershala Ali, right?
Ali. Yes, I am looking forward to this. Fall of 2023.
Hold on. Back to Blade. Yeah. Do you have anything else about Blade that we need to know? Like what's happening? Who's in that? Who's the villain? Are we going to get that Kit Harington guy from the Eternals when he was like touching the sword and we thought we heard Blade talking? What's going on? What do we know?
We don't know yet because filming will begin in about a month.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
Fall of 2023, we'll see the Ironheart show, which we talked about, the character debuting in Wakanda Forever, Disney Plus.
Question. I'm just going to throw this out at you. Will we see Harley drop in any of this?
I think there's a chance we could maybe see Harley and Ironheart.
Because that would be really cool. I'd love to see him again, other than his quick little cameo at the end of Avengers Endgame with the memorial for Tony Stark. It would be nice to see where he is, because especially since they like teased his picture in the Avengers of Campus, as some other scientific minds that have been part of the Young Avengers. So
yeah, I could see him maybe making an appearance in Ironheart. It wouldn't shock me.
Make it happen. I like that.
Yeah. Winter of 2023 and early 2024. Agatha, Coven of Chaos. Note the name change. This was originally Agatha, House of Harkness. They've changed the name. Kevin, this show was created because she was so amazing in WandaVision and everybody loved her. They needed to do more with Catherine Hahn.
Why do I get the feeling, though, this show is going to be mostly a flashback series?
I think there's going to be some flashbacks in it. I think it's also going to play a little bit on the comedy side as well. And I think there could be some Scarlet Witch connections in this.
I'm sorry, I'm just having a very negative flashback on how that character was handled in Doctor Strange.
Kevin, I'm trust me, if things I'm reading right, you're going to be very happy with what's coming and how they're going to do things with her.
I hope they do it right.
Yeah. One of the things that I was incredibly happy to hear, and we've known this has been coming, but it is official now, in the spring of 2024, Daredevil Born Again. But Kevin, something we talked about recently is the number of episodes in a streaming season. Well, Daredevil's about to break that wide open because Daredevil Born Again will be 18 episodes on Disney Plus.
I'm not going to believe that until I see it.
No,
and I have a feeling that each episode is going to be like 20 minutes long.
Kevin Feige confirmed the 18 episodes in the panel.
Talk about filler. Come on. 18 episodes for a Disney Plus series? Yeah, I'm not going to believe it. Sorry. Kevin Feige can says whatever he wants, but 18 episodes?
We got 12 of Andor right around the corner. So, and if they're doing the actual Born Again story, they're going to need 18 episodes. So,
why?
Because that's a very complex, very in-depth, classic Daredevil story that was written by Frank Miller.
Okay, so is the Netflix series canon?
I think aspects of it will be.
Because they've been bringing these characters in, not all of them, of course, but I just 18 episodes. Wow. I'm not complaining. I'm just like, wow, really? Why can't we get more episodes of other Disney Plus series?
Who knows? They're probably working.
Star Wars.
May 3rd of 2024. Anthony Mackie gets his first solo go-around as Captain America with Captain America New World Order. I got to think, though, the Winter Soldier and Sharon Carter are going to be in this film. Kevin.
Can I tell you, when I first saw that on the docket, I forgot that Anthony Mackie was now Captain America. I'm like, oh, Chris Evans is coming back. I totally forgot about it. I'm sorry, but I did. It's just the Winter Soldier TV series, Falcon Winter Series, just it seemed like such a long time ago. And I forgot that he became Captain America. And it also did. Hold on. It also didn't help that I just watched Gray Man on Netflix, and I saw Chris Evans playing a really good bad guy. I'm going, he's been a really good guy, and now he's a really good bad guy. Be curious to see if he's going to come back and do something with Steve Rogers again. I just had that in my brain. So anyway.
I think we're going to give Kevin a homework assignment of rewatching The Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I know, right? I like the series. It was good.
Yeah. I think from what I'm hearing too, don't be surprised to see that be kind of more of a team up type movie too, where we can see a lot of other familiar MCU faces in that mix.
Sharon Carter, curious to see what's going to happen with her, because I that has to tie in with Secret Invasion, I would only assume.
Yeah, I'm going to be very curious. And then wrapping up Phase 5 will be Thunderbolts. And Kevin, Thunderbolts is going to be it's going to be a movie, and it's going to be kind of the culmination, I think, of everything that they've been doing with the Julia Louis-Dreyfus character.
Yeah, I don't know what that's going to happen. I know we've brought up Thunderbolts before, but is that going to be teased in Secret Invasion? Is that going to be teased in Captain America: New World Order?
I think
is that going to be teased in Ironheart? I'm looking back at all the other stuff that could help lead into that movie, because I have a feeling Captain America: New World Order will have to have a direct tie-in, because going back to dates here, Kyle, spring of 2024 is Daredevil, right? Then you have May 3rd, 2024, Captain America: New World Order. I don't know if you said the dates or not. Then July 26th, 2024, which is supposed to be the end of Phase 5, ends with Thunderbolts. And then I'm not going to go into Phase 6 yet, but the next Phase 6 thing isn't supposedly until November. So you can't just go cold into Thunderbolts here. What is your thoughts on this?
Kevin Feige has said that Thunderbolts will be set up throughout Phase 5 of the MCU, and that you're going to see a lot of
the
faces.
Stuff that I mentioned, you think?
Yeah, you're going to see faces introduced throughout Phase 5 that will end up being part of the Thunderbolts film, as well as probably a couple of characters who will be introduced in the film itself.
Who's the leads in this?
Well, if you're going to go by who we've seen so far,
William Hurt is dead now, the actor. So right. What do they do with that?
I think there's a few things you do. Obviously, you're bringing back Russell Wyatt as John Walker.
Yeah.
From Baron Zemo will be a major part of this.
Okay.
My guess is I wouldn't be surprised to see Tim Roth's Abomination as part of this team.
So these are kind of like the villain / anti-heroes that get together.
Yeah. We could see Yelena be a part of this team.
Oh yeah, I forgot about her. Kind of missing.
Yeah, this could be something that Kate Bishop gets pulled into, maybe not willingly, but gets pulled into this thing. So there's several things that could still happen here. It's gonna be interesting to see how they set this up. I'm looking forward to that. Now, before we get into all the major stuff of Phase 6, we're gonna take a quick break here and tell you what else is going on in the Fandom Podcast Network, and give Kevin and I a chance to absorb everything we just talked about. So we will be right back after this break of telling you what else is happening on the Fandom Podcast Network.
Thank you for listening. We hope you're enjoying this podcast. Here are the other great shows on the Fandom Podcast Network. Culture Clash, where we discuss the latest in entertainment and pop culture. Blooded Kings, our show covering the entire Highlander universe. Couch Potato Theater, we celebrate our favorite movies. And Time Warp, our Fandom Flashback show discussing a year in movies and our favorite retro movie, TV, and pop culture topics. Good Evening, discussing all things Alfred Hitchcock. Hair Metal Podcast, we cover the rock metal music of the 80s and early 90s. Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast, discussing the time-traveling Doctor Who universe. Lethal Mullet, an action film podcast covering the 80s, 90s, and beyond. Also, check out the Lethal Mullet Network for more great podcasts. What a Piece of Junk, our Star Wars podcast. Making Treks, a Star Trek podcast with a deep dive into the final frontier. The Fandom Show, our Fandom Podcast Network live YouTube show discussing the hottest topics in fandom, the True Believers MCU podcast discussing the Marvel Cinematic and Television Universe, Union Federation, our Star Trek, and the Orville Show. And we're proud to welcome the BQN Network to the Fandom Podcast Network. Please visit our friends on the BQN Network, a Star Trek Universe podcast that also includes your favorite topics, movies, history, superheroes, and more. You can find the Fandom Podcast Network on YouTube. The Fandom Podcast Network is also on all major podcast platforms. The Fandom Podcast Network audio master feed is on Podbean at fpnet.podbean.com. You can find the Fandom Podcast Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can email us at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, respect others and enjoy your fandom.
And welcome back, everybody, to True Believers. Hopefully you're enjoying everything that's going on around the Fandom Podcast Network. Kevin, not only did Kevin Feige give us Phase 5, he announced Phase 6. And like I said, when he did, he also announced it.
Come on, not all of it. He just kind of gave a couple tidbits here.
Well, he's got Disney. He probably has some Disney mandate when we'll get to that he had to save some stuff
but
for
at least he laid out some groundwork, so that's good. That's good.
Yeah. Nobody saw Phase 6 coming. Heck, they didn't even know they were going to get as much from Phase 5 as they got. But yes, he did announce Phase 6. Things are just getting crazy. Phase 6 right now, the first film that is announced for Phase 6 is the Fantastic Four film, Kevin. And Kevin Feige actually had an interesting thing on this because a lot of people have been asking him. He says, a lot of people know the origin story. A lot of people know the basics. How do we take that and bring something that they've never seen before? We've set a very high bar for ourselves with bringing that to the screen. He basically is confirming he's going to kind of pull a Spider-Man here. We might not necessarily see the beginnings of the Fantastic Four. They might already exist as we come into this movie. Maybe we get a little flashback or something, a quick flashback or something in the opening credits or something like that. But
I got something on this.
What have you got?
Okay. It's not a scoop, but I highly suggest you go on YouTube, Facebook videos, whatever, and look at the interview that John Krasinski does on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. And Jimmy Fallon brought up his appearance, of course, in Doctor Strange as Reed Richards. And then Jimmy Fallon kind of goes, I know you can't say anything, blah, 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 but there's rumors out there. Are you returning? That you might be returning for Phase 4, for Fantastic Four, the movie. Maybe your wife might play your actual wife, Sue Storm, blah, blah. And of course, he couldn't answer. He didn't comment or say anything. And then they went into this funny thing about how, there's this thing going around the internet that his character on The Office, was it really a villain? Was Jim Halpert an actual villain in The Office? But anyway, just go watch it because it's kind of cute, and funny how Fallon is kind of wanting to ask it, even though he can't. But Kyle,
so basically, what we're saying is that John Krasinski is
John Krasinski. You got to say his name
Krasinski is using the Andrew Garfield playbook at the moment.
Yeah. Yes, pretty much. Yes.
It wouldn't shock me. It honestly wouldn't. The fact that we're using Kang and Kang is going to be a big part of what's happening in the MCU with the rest of the way is going to be a Fantastic Four works. I'm excited for Fantastic Four. I know there's been a director change. Brad Bird stepped aside, and I give him a lot of credit for stepping aside, Kevin, because he basically just said, I'm burned out on these kind of films. I need to do something different, and this deserves somebody who's not going to be not 100% into this.
Okay.
Good.
Back to what you said. I want to you to expand on this a little because I want to get your opinion on this. So how Kevin Feige mentioned we're not going to get an origin story here. However, they're going to have to incorporate what makes them become the Fantastic Four, become the characters they are, have the powers that they have. But what's interesting about what you said, Kyle, is that they don't have to have an origin story, but there has to be something that places Fantastic Four, at least part of it, into what's happened with the current MCU universe. So could there at least be like a flashback to when they become fantastic? I know that sounds stupid, but you know what I mean, right? They get their superpowers, whatever, something has to touch on either by mention of them. Otherwise, they can just already be fantastic. When I say that, it's meaning they already have their powers, okay? Sorry, it sounds stupid, but that's how I'm going to put it. The story could take place where they already have their powers, but then we have to find out where it lands in the current MCU. And if this is coming out November 8th, 2024, which is 2.5 years from now, will something happen in Phase 5 that will create the fantasticness of the Fantastic Four?
Well, Marvel likes to do these things called stingers, and I could see them doing a extended stinger maybe at the end of Thunderbolts.
What movie or series referenced the 4 astronauts?
That was what WandaVision.
Okay. So if that happened to them, I'm just playing a game here, but maybe they don't become fantastic, but something happened to them and they don't showcase anything until now? Could that happen?
With the Fantastic Four, there's so many different things that could happen. We could even have it be where, they could kind of go with more of the Ultimate Fantastic Four origin, where it was a experiment into another dimension that went bad.
Okay.
And that's how they got their powers. So there's a lot of things they could do, and there's a lot of ways they could set this up.
What Kevin, would you like to see? Give me some Kyle speculation here, because we know what Phase 5 is.
I really want to. I am kind of hoping we can kind of see a little bit of an established Fantastic Four, like people know who they are. Maybe we've, but we're just kind of seeing them out or they're established, but they haven't really been out in the public eye per se yet. And maybe they get out in the public eye. I don't need Dr. Doom in this. However, I think maybe Dr. Doom gets introduced in a stinger for Fantastic Four.
We kind of got we got the tease already on some boxes in a van down by the river
of Latveria.
Yes, in Moon Knight, right? Is that the first?
We got some teases of possibly being Latveria. Yes. I think they're saving Doom for something later on. I just don't be surprised if Doom is not the main villain in Fantastic Four. We might see Victor Von Doom introduced, but don't expect him to be the villain of the Fantastic Four film. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay. Then Kevin Feige gave us not one, no, not just one, but he pulled a Avengers double header out of his hat, because Phase 6 will wrap up with not one, but 2 Avengers films. Coming out May 2nd, 2025, Avengers the Kang Dynasty. Which right there tells you, get ready to see a lot of Jonathan Majors through Phase 5 of the MCU. I'll explain how they're going to work that in a minute, but just the other day too, Kevin, we got our director announced for Avengers the Kang Dynasty, and it is none other than Shang-Chi director Destin Daniel Cretton. I'm excited about this. I am really looking forward. I love this directing choice. I think he's going to bring an energy to this. I think we're going to get to see a little bit of a difference of Avengers, and I really think they're going to build this Avengers team through Phase 5. I think maybe by Captain America.
Do you think you'll get the nod for Avengers Secret War? Sorry.
They've already said it will be a different director for Avengers Secret Wars.
Okay. Because they, we had the Russo brothers do both of those, and they created some connective tissue, so I was curious about that. Anyway, sorry. I didn't mean to step on your news there, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited about this. I really think we're going to see this Avengers team that will probably take shape through Phase 5 of the MCU. I have a feeling we'll probably see the majority of that Avengers team in that Captain America New World Order film.
Okay.
Kind of like
So
what we saw
backtrack.
in Captain America: Civil War,
Right.
where we saw
right,
that.
right.
I think it's
Okay.
going to be very similar for that.
So backtrack. The movie's announced for Phase 6, confirmed November 8th, 2024. Fantastic Four, Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, next year in 2025 on May 2nd, and then at the end of the year, towards the end of the year, November 7th, Avengers: Secret Wars.
Yes, which will be November 7th, 2025 is where it's scheduled right now. And Kevin, this is where everything's been building to, and I've been saying this for a while now that we were headed towards Secret Wars. And I think it's a natural flow if they're going to do the Kang Dynasty, and the events of the Kang Dynasty could lead into what happens in Secret Wars. And it's not going to be, for those of you out there, it gets a little confusing because there's the classic 80s Secret Wars stories, but they're not doing that. They did another Secret Wars in the 2000s written by famous comic book writer Jonathan Hickman, where aspects of the multiverse, basically the multiverse was destroyed, but certain aspects of the multiverse forged what they call a planet which they called Battle World. And it brought a lot of characters from other universes together in one place. The big thing with Avengers Secret Wars, Kevin, there's two really big possibilities that will come out of this at the end of it. Miles Morales. This is how Miles Morales got introduced to the main Marvel Comics universe, was through Secret Wars. So we have a very strong possibility of seeing Miles Morales.
Spider-Man.
And I truly believe we will see X-Men officially come and mutants officially get a big stage after Secret Wars. And there's a reason for that, Kevin, because Kevin Feige, again, has been talking, and there are some rumors, there's some things going around. One of the reasons why we have not seen a lot of X-Men yet is because there's some contractual issues still hanging around from some of the actors from the Fox years where they have first rights to those characters. And those contracts last through, coincidentally, 2025.
Hold on. Who holds their rights? The actors do?
The actors have the rights to play those characters. There's contracts in place.
So you're saying people like Hugh Jackman have the Wolverine rights through 2025?
Correct. They have rights to play. There's certain key X-Men figures that the actors have in their contracts. They have the right. It's their right to play that character through a certain time frame. Because when they sign them, they sign multi-film deals. All those contracts expire in 2025.
Okay. So when in 2025?
Well, I think it doesn't matter because what you're going to here's what I think is going to happen. I have a sneaking suspicion there will be some filming delays, and we won't see necessarily. I have a feeling Avengers Secret Wars will get pushed back till spring of 2026, and surprise, surprise, all of a sudden we start seeing X-Men in Secret Wars.
So you're saying November 8th, 2024, Fantastic Four, could we get a tease of other X-Men that don't have these weird contracts?
We could definitely get more mutant teases now that the word mutant.
Now, if we're going to mention this, Kyle, which X-Men actors have their rights secured with them until 2025? Do you know?
I'm pretty sure. I know one is. I think one is Hugh Jackman. I believe Patrick Stewart on Professor X is tied through 2025. I also believe that.
Well, what about McAvoy, who's the other Professor X, the young one?
I think he has some of that in his contract. I think Fassbender has Magneto, but I really don't think Marvel wants to use anybody who's been used in the past. I think they want to go with fresh casting.
That's fine. I get that. Why can't they do that? Because Disney owns them.
Well, Disney owns them, but they still have to pay out those contracts, and they could get sued by. It's a whole mess. It's legal mumbo jumbo. It's a whole mess.
Okay, all right.
So
okay,
but
Kyle. So before we go forward here, I want to lay out the plan here that we discussed before we started recording, so the people that are watching and the people that are listening can get a timeline set in their head here. Because, like myself, I'm still trying to get that cemented in my brain. Let's go back to the end of Phase 5 with the Thunderbolts premiering July 26, 2024. That is the end of phase 5. Okay.
Correct.
So that is summertime. It's towards the end of summer. Okay. Well, middle of summer, July. All right. Then the beginning of phase 6 is still a little murky because even though we have a movie, Fantastic Four, November 4th, later that year announced, there is still 3 untitled projects, 2 in the fall, 1 in the winter of 2024. What are those? Does one of those air before Fantastic? I'm laying this out audibly so people that are listening can get this. So I'm setting you up here.
Yeah.
Is the 2 fall projects in 2024, does one come before Fantastic Four, and does it help set up Fantastic Four, or does the other one come after? Ball is yours.
Okay, so
fill out the end of 2024 here for me if you can.
Okay, well, I can't fully fill it out for you yet.
Speculate. That's what we're here for. That's what this show's about.
But there's a reason. Let me go into this here because we're going to talk about September 10th of this year, D23.
Okay.
Marvel has 8 announcements lined up for D23.
Oh, gotcha.
Expect those holes to be filled in there. Okay. But Marvel has put some copyrights down, some trademarks out there.
Oh, yeah. These are names that they had to submit to the film industry to have for copyright rights.
Exactly.
Basically. Yeah.
Exactly. Some of those things include Shang-Chi and the Wreckage of Time, Black Knight Origins, Midnight Suns, Avengers Academy, Nomad, Celestials, The End of Time. There is also a lot of very strong belief of 3 projects that Marvel has not confirmed, but a lot of people seem to think they're going to hit sometime in some of those empty slots. You're going to get the announcement of a solo Scarlet Witch film. You're going to get...
What's it called?
It's just no name yet to it. They're saying it's a Scarlet Witch project.
Okay. All right. So they didn't submit a name for that project then.
Well, because they already own the trademark for Scarlet Witch in this case. It might just be called Scarlet Witch. The possibility of World War Hulk, which would be a Disney Plus show and would tell a very classic Hulk tale. The other one is probably going to fall a little bit in line with how She-Hulk is done, and that is Wonder Man, which is a very interesting Marvel superhero because he got his powers and he turned into a stuntman and an actor. However, Wonder Man has in the comics a lot of ties to the Vision and the Scarlet Witch. Some very, very important ties. So he carries a lot of weight. But those are some of the things that I think could see it come up. Nomad could spin out of Captain America. That was a classic Captain America sidekick for a while. I think we're definitely getting Shang-Chi and the Wreckage of Time, and I bet you that comes before Kang Dynasty comes out.
Movie or series?
Movie. No, it's definitely a movie. Okay. Shang-Chi would definitely be a movie. I think Black Knight...
Back up. Okay, so you're saying when could it come out? Before Avengers?
I think it comes out before the Avengers Kang Dynasty. I think it probably comes out in those spots.
So your answer to my answer to speculate was that we'll get those answers probably at D23 in September. So fall 24. There's 2 projects called Fall 24 and 1 project called Winter 24. Then we get into Winter 25, which I would assume be January, February. Okay. Then we start getting into spring. We have 2 spring projects that are unannounced or untitled in 2025. That should lead up to Avengers, the Kang Dynasty in May 2025. Then we have 2 summer untitled projects in 2025. That one will eventually lead into Avengers Secret War later, November 7th, 2025. That could probably be the Shang-Chi movie, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. I think that's a very good possibility. But let me add a little bit more throw into the speculation, Kevin, because Kevin Feige's been talking a lot.
We like that.
He did an interview with Josh Horowitz of MTV, and he gave a quick shout out to Spider-Man when discussing the MCU's future. He was also asked about Harry Styles' future as Eros after Eternals. Feige listed off a number of characters who will continue to have a presence in moving into Phase 5. Most notably, however, he mentioned that Spidey is going into the street-level heroes with Daredevil. So,
hold on. You're talking about Tom Holland's character.
Correct.
What does Sony have to say about that?
They're ready. They want another Spider-Man film.
Okay.
The contract's pretty close to done. So that could be one of those spots also. He also talked about the adventures of Eros and Pip, the characters we saw played by Harry Styles and Patton Oswalt in the stinger of Eternals.
Oh, that's right.
The adventures of Eros and Pip is something very exciting for us. You talk about Ghost Rider, we've got Blade, we've got Doctor Strange, we've got supernatural angles, we've got the street level with our announcement of Daredevil, and of course Spidey into the street level heroes and cosmic, and that's where our friends Eros and Pip live. Don't be surprised if we don't get some kind of Eros and Pip show. That could be a lot of fun.
Ghost Rider?
There's been some Ryan Gosling rumors with Ghost Rider.
After he does Ken. Gotcha. Okay.
But here's the latest piece that broke yesterday. Kevin Feige, being sly yet again, he was asked about Deadpool 3. And his response was, how do we elevate it in the way we've been able to with Civil War and Infinity War and Ragnarok? It's very fun to be in the world of the Ryan Reynolds show right now. I think Deadpool could be one of those 24 slots.
I hope so. I don't want to wait till 2025 to see another Deadpool. I want to see how he gets in there. It's so much information, Kevin, but what's exciting is they've got stuff going on, and they have a direction. Get ready to see a lot of Jonathan Majors because Kevin, I know you weren't a big fan of what he was in Loki, but we're going to see him in a lot of different ways throughout MCU Phase 5 because that's the thing with the Kang character. He's always different. There's always different iterations of Kang, depending on time travel and some things like that. So get ready to see. I think we're going to see a lot of Jonathan Majors, and Kevin Feige has made the comment Jonathan Majors is going to be a huge part of Phase 5, and he's going to help carry the MCU going through this next saga. So, all right.
There's a lot of pieces, a lot to get together. I think we're going to get a lot clearer picture also after D23, Kevin, but I expect once after D23 is done, we probably won't have any Marvel announcements for a while. I think we're going to be set for a while, and they got a lot of work to do.
Just announcements of what days or what when these shows are actually airing, and maybe just more information on each project we'll get. So yeah.
I do think, Kevin, though, you were talking about speculation. I think at D23 they will announce the Fantastic Four cast.
That would be cool. Yeah. So I got a question for you.
Yes.
If I gave you the time stone right now, Kyle, would you use it to go back in time and alter my suggestion of starting a True Believers podcast?
No,
on the heels of WandaVision.
No, what I would do is go into the future and where they finally perfected human cloning and clone myself so I could. Since funny. I have to throw this out a little Marvel love. Kristen Witter, who played Jessica Jones, has just been announced as an executive producer and the lead on the new Orphan Black show that's coming out.
Interesting. Okay.
So just a little love that way. But yeah, Kevin, it's a lot of stuff to handle. I can get why it's overwhelming, but I'm honestly very excited because I think the possibilities are really endless and they've got a lot of things set up. And whether you are happy about Phase 4 or indifferent to Phase 4, I think there's a lot to be excited about coming in the MCU. But we're going to be a couple very tired Marvel podcasters when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
When do we do our Infinity Gauntlet snaps and hand the podcast over to the next generation? I think that's going to be more of the big question.
I know, right? Yeah, a lot of stuff to look forward to.
Yep. Well, with that, guys, we're gonna bleed off a little Tesseract energy and tell you where you can find all these great shows on the Fandom Podcast Network. So, as always, thank you to all of our amazing listeners out there. You guys, we can't do this without you. We appreciate all the love you give us, all the Marvel love. And there's going to be lots to have, Kevin. We're actually going to take a little break here, but we're going to be back because, Kevin, I think it's safe to say we're both excited for She-Hulk.
Yes, I am excited for She-Hulk. I am. Yeah,
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And Tatiana Maslany, I'm just saying, top of the fan club right here. But there's a couple of great ways that you can find the True Believer Show, obviously, on our YouTube page where we can watch the videos of all these great shows that we do on the Fandom Podcast Network. Go to our YouTube channel, Fandom Podcast Network, give us a like, subscribe, share it out to your friends. If you want to listen to these in audio format, go to our master feed at fpnet.podbean.com. Of course, you can also use the Podbean app for that. And we're also on all of the major podcast catchers out there, including iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. If you want to get in touch with us directly, you can find us on Facebook, search for the Fandom Podcast Network, or search for the True Believers group. Join us. We try to keep you updated in all the Marvel news. Trust me, I was very tired by the end of San Diego Comic-Con trying to get posts out there for everybody. You can email us directly at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Fandom Podcast Network, and on Twitter at FanPod Network. Of course, I'm Kyle. You can find me in the multiverse on Twitter at AKyleW or on Instagram at AKyleFandom. Where can people find you within this mighty Marvel multiverse, Kevin?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_Phoenix.
And of course, too, before we get out of here as well, too, Kevin, I'm just going to automatically throw you 10 Excelsior points this week just because you absorbed all this material, and I know you're still processing it. So you're going to get rewarded for just the overload of data that you were just dumped in your head.
I'll just cash it out now. What do I get? Do you think these out ahead of time before you award them?
A little, sometimes yes, sometimes it depends on how the show goes. As far as your rewards, I honestly, I'm in such a data dump. I'm just gonna say, if you want to cash them out now, I'm gonna give you an afternoon with Kevin Feige, and you can ask him all the questions you want, see if you can get some information out of him.
I'm sure he could afford it.
Yeah, I don't know if he has time to talk to anybody after all these announcements, but
I know, right? Yeah,
and he's still trying to sneak a Star Wars movie in there too. But also, too, go to our TeePublic store, tpublic.com. You can find all the gear of True Believers in the Fandom Podcast Network. It helps us keep the lights on around here. tpublic.com, search for the Fandom Podcast Network or the title of your favorite podcast on the network. Kevin, you got anything else before we get out of this Marvel massive mountain of information?
I'm going to finish watching Deadpool on Disney Plus.
It still doesn't feel right, does it?
It doesn't, but it feels good.
Is it kind of like Secretary's Day?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get the reference. I don't get the reference. Sorry, I'm just saying yes.
Oh, okay. Well, you remember them to go through the holidays in the original Deadpool?
Oh, okay. All right, gotcha. That scene was just playing a few minutes ago.
Yeah. Well, before we get ourselves in any more trouble and lose our family-friendly rating, thank you to all you wonderful listeners out there. Until next time, as always, Excelsior and make ours Marvel.